Is Texas on its way to landing 2 elite running backs in the class of 2026? We've got the latest insider intel on the Longhorns' chase for some tailbacks on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro!
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We'll discuss how the new CFP format impacts Texas moving forward, and we'll also break down a pretty rough Thursday for Longhorn baseball and softball a little bit later in today's show. But first, it's been a busy month of May for Texas on the recruiting trail as the Longhorns have landed 4 commitments in the class of 2026 so far, with more than a week left in the month. We know it's going to be an even busier June for Texas. The Horns will play host to more than 50 official visitors next month, and the hope and the plan is that at least a few of them commit in June. A couple of guys who will be in Austin next month are running backs. Now, Texas has recruited and developed the running back position incredibly well in the Steve Sarkisian era. I'm not breaking any news to anybody here. Sark has brought in 2 running backs in every cycle except 2022. Jaden Blue was the only take that year. Now, the Longhorns did bring in Savion Red in that class. He was recruited as a wide receiver. As soon as he got to campus, he flipped to running back. Up to you if you want to count him or not. Technically, the recruiting sites didn't consider him a running back. But point is, more often than not, in the Steve Sarkisian era, Texas has been able to land multiple top-flight running backs out of high school. And, of course, the development. Texas has had 5 running backs drafted in the last 3 years. They're the only team in college football that has had at least 1 running back selected in each of the last 3 drafts. So it's an important position for everybody. It's clearly a point of emphasis for Steve Sarkisian. The running back matters a hell of a lot in the Steve Sarkisian offense. He's got that ridiculous streak of consecutive years of having at least one 1,000-yard rusher. Quintravion Wisner, of course, was that guy last year. Yeah, Texas has done a great job with running backs under Sark. There are a number of really talented running backs in this upcoming class of 2026 that are considering Texas, and we've got a few insider updates on some of the top targets. We'll start with an update on KJ Edwards, the 4-star running back from Carthage High School in Carthage, Texas. He's the number 2 running back in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. I believe he's the number 3 in the nation in terms of the composite rankings. But this guy's a hell of a player, and he's had a fantastic high school career, winning back-to-back state championships with Carthage, and he was the MVP in one of those state title games as well. We'll see if they can three-peat here this fall. KJ Edwards has an OV set for the weekend of June 20th through the 22nd. That's the last of 5 official visits he has planned over the next month and change. He'll also be going to Alabama, Colorado, LSU, and Texas A&M. Bama and LSU are recent additions to his list. He was originally scheduled to visit Baylor and SMU in June. He got rid of those schools. It's too good for those schools. Sorry, Bears and Ponies, but that's the truth. And he added Alabama and LSU instead. Colorado's interesting. They really want him. They've been making a big push on KJ Edwards over the last few weeks, but it would be a big surprise if Edwards ends up leaving the state of Texas. That's according to Jordan. That's according to a couple of folks that I've talked to behind the scenes. This thing feels like a 2-horse race between the Longhorns and the Aggies right now. Horns 24/7 logged a crystal ball prediction for Edwards to land at Texas back in April. They feel really good about him. I feel really good about him ending up in this class. And I'll tip my cap to new running back coach Chad Scott, who has done a really good job picking up where Tashard Choice left off in this recruitment. Now, Tashard Choice, I don't have to tell you how good he was as a recruiter and just as an overall running backs coach at Texas. It was a big loss when he left for the Detroit Lions earlier this offseason. You were wondering, I was wondering, I won't put words in y'all's mouths. I was wondering what the recruiting impact would be once Choice left. It was a little rocky road for a while, but it sounds like the Horns are still in very, very good standing with KJ Edwards, who I believe is their top running back on their board. So hopefully Texas can close this one out strong. Edwards is scheduled to commit in early August, so we'll get an answer before the season starts on where KJ Edwards plans on playing his college football starting in 2026. Another name to mention, another four-star, another one of the top tailbacks in America, Xavier Crowell from the state of Alabama. 24/7 Sports has him ranked number 4, but I believe the composite rankings has him number 2 in the nation. He's got an official visit set for Austin the weekend of June 6th through the 8th. Texas has been going after him hard. What a class that would be. What a 1-2 punch. If you can get both Edwards and Crowell, that'd be the best recruiting duo in the nation this year by far. Probably be one of the best recruiting duos in the same class in recent college football history. But I mentioned it, Crowell from the state of Alabama. Alabama seems like the clear leader of the pack right now. And I talked to Jordan earlier today on Texas Sports Unfiltered. By the way, check that out. It's the radio show I do every day. And he said Xavier Crowell had his prom recently, and he took a picture in front of a Dodge Challenger that had Alabama license plates on it. I don't think that's a coincidence. From the state of Alabama, I think he grew up an Alabama fan. Hard to poach guys out of that state. And Texas, I think, has an uphill battle with Xavier Crowell. So the Crimson Tide have felt like they've had the lead for a while. Most of the Texas insiders have felt the same way. We'll see if Texas can close the gap. Again, he is making an official visit in June. He's got a few official visits planned, including one to Alabama. I think he's going to Auburn as well. We'll see if Texas can make up some ground there. But again, this might be a long shot for the Longhorns at this point. Would love to see Xavier Crowell in this class. We'll see what happens. And one more name to update you on in this segment. 5-star Derek Cooper, who's listed as an athlete on most of the recruiting sites. Some are recruiting him as a defensive back. Some are recruiting him as a running back. He plays both ways for his high school team. And, well, this one might be the longest shot of all because he doesn't currently have an OV set for Texas. He's from Hollywood, Florida, very close to Miami. He's got 5 weekends worth of visits coming up in June with 5 different schools. Texas is not one of those 5. Now, he could visit Austin during a midweek. And Derek Cooper recently canceled a midweek visit he had planned for Penn State. He was actually here a couple of weeks ago on an unofficial. And while he was in Austin, he called up Penn State and said, I'm not going to visit anymore. So there's a chance Texas gets that midweek official visit for Derek Cooper at some point in the month of June, which I guess that's a good sign. But Penn State wasn't the team Texas people were worried about here. It's Miami. Again, that's the local school. If he wants to play close to home, he's going to stay there. Miami's got a lot of money. Miami's a good program. They've got a lot of things going for them right now. They've recruited really well. Georgia, also a team very much in the mix for Derek Cooper. He has been a top priority for the Dogs for a while. So it sounds like as of this moment, recording on May 23rd, if Derek Cooper doesn't stay home and go to the U, Georgia's kind of the leader of the pack for where else he could end up. So a little bit of a long shot there for Texas, but the Longhorns hoping to get Derek Cooper on campus to see if they can change his mind. So there's 3 updates right there. Good news for KJ Edwards. Feels like Texas is on the outside looking in for Crowell and Cooper. I'll say this. I mentioned it. I was talking to Jordan Scruggs earlier today about this. He mentioned those 3 names. He also talked about 2 other Texas targets, Amari Latimer and Carson Baker, a couple of other out-of-state running backs that are probably leaning elsewhere right now. There's a chance that the second running back in this class, assuming Texas wants to sign 2, which all indications are that they do, the second running back that Texas brings in, there's a very good chance that that guy currently does not have a Texas offer. They want Edwards. He's the top target, and hopefully they get that commitment in early August. Maybe they just go from there after that. They could offer somebody mid-season, right? Once the high school year gets going, they see somebody they really like, and they're like, oh, okay, we think that guy's worthy of a spot on our roster. Maybe that's what they do. Let this thing play out and see who kind of stands out. And I know that sounds a little scary on its surface, but Texas has had success with that strategy in the past. Grayson Littleton, a 4-star, a top 75 player in the class of 2025. Texas didn't offer him until his senior year. And that was a big get for the Longhorns. He continued to skyrocket up recruiting service rankings. And that was a big ad for Texas down the stretch. Xavier Filsaime, the year before, kind of a late offer for Texas. They were able to land him, and he's got a really bright future on the 40 acres. So no need to panic if some of these other guys start committing elsewhere. If you get KJ Edwards, that's a huge addition. That is a cornerstone piece. And again, one of the top running backs in the nation, the top running back in the state of Texas in this year's class. You get him, and then you go from there. So there's your latest updates with Texas recruiting at the running back position. Some good, some bad. I think the Longhorns will be just fine in year one of the Chad Scott era. All right. The college football playoff announced some sweeping changes to the playoff format starting this coming season. We'll talk about the impact that those changes are going to have on the Longhorns in 2025 and beyond. Coming up next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out and postseason tickets and entertainment. And if you live in the Austin area, you know there's stuff going on here all the time. It's easy to lose track of your spending. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full control and visibility over all of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete all-in-one financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your credit cards, all of your spending, all of your investments in one place. So you can stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth. It's so convenient. You don't have to spend a bunch of time looking at this bank account, looking at this investment account. Now, that's all a thing of the past. Everything you need to check on your money is all in one place with our friends at Monarch Money. So take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use the promo code Locked On College, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. Just head over to monarchmoney.com. Use that promo code Locked On College, and you're going to get half off your first year from our great friends at Monarch Money. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Happy Friday to everybody tuned in out there. Appreciate y'all checking out today's episode. Major changes are coming to the college football playoff. It took all of 1 year before we had to revamp the CFP, and I got a hunch we're going to be revamping it again next year, and maybe the year after that, maybe the year after that. We're at 12 teams right now. It feels like we're going to get to 14. There are already wheels in motion for that to happen. And then I think before this decade is all said and done, we'll be at 16 teams in the CFP. I know that scares a lot of you, but it's worked in the FCS for a long time. And I think that's the number that they will get to, at least for now. Hopefully they're not going full college basketball or college baseball and trying to get 60. I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to speak that thought into the CFP's minds because they're all about money, and more playoff games brings more money and whatever. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole today. The big change that will happen starting this season, this is not rumor at this point. College football playoff executives have unanimously voted to adopt straight seeding for this year's CFP, meaning that teams will be seeded directly based on their CFP rankings. The top four will no longer be reserved for the conference champions. It will be given out to the teams that are ranked 1 through 4 in the final CFP rankings. Those are the teams that will get the top 4 seeds. More importantly, those are the teams that will get the first round bye. If you go back and look at the 2024 college football playoff, well, Texas would have been one of those teams that got a first round bye. The Longhorns ended up third in the CFP ranking, but because they weren't a conference champion, thanks for that one, Bert Auburn, they were the number 5 seed. They obviously had to play that first round game against Clemson, and they ended up playing Arizona State, the Big 12 champ, in the 5-4 matchup in round 2. So Texas, if this format existed last year, the Longhorns would have gotten the first round bye. Instead, they didn't. Matter of fact, we'll do a little screen share here. We'll show you what the CFP bracket would have looked like this past season if this rule was in place. Texas would have been the 3 seed. They would have gotten that bye. They would have opened up against the winner of Ohio State and Arizona State. Funny enough, 2 teams the Longhorns actually ran into in their CFP path last year. But Texas, wouldn't have been able to avoid Ohio State. You wouldn't have had to play both state teams. But yeah, Texas, Ohio State would have been a semifinal matchup there. And, I guess a quarterfinal matchup there, instead of what we got in the Cotton Bowl this year. But obviously a different look compared to what we actually got. Penn State would have gotten the 4 seed instead of Arizona State, and things would have been completely different. I'm a big fan of this change. I think most college football fans are a big fan of this change. I know the 4 teams that had first round buys this year all lost their first games, but you got to keep a couple of things in mind. 2 of them were supposed to lose, right? Boise State was the 3 seed going up against Penn State. They were big underdogs in that game. Arizona State, the 4 seed going up against Texas. That game was a lot closer than any of us wanted, but Arizona State was a big underdog in that game. And then 1 and 2, Oregon was the 1 seed. They had to play Ohio State in their first game. Clearly, Ohio State was better than your ordinary 8 seed, and Georgia was the 2. They didn't have their quarterback against Notre Dame. So I don't think you could just say, oh, well, all 4 teams that had a bye this year all lost, so you don't want the bye. It's too much rest. You don't want to deal. I don't believe in that. I think over time, the teams that get the first round bye, well, now they're going to deserve it because they're ranked in the top 4. And I think more often than not, they're going to take care of business early on in their college football playoff rounds. So I like this move. Reward the teams that have the best regular season. Everybody always talks about how expanding the playoff devalues the regular season. You can't argue against that. I'm okay with the playoff being where it's at. I'd prefer 8, but I'm okay with it being more than 4. But the more teams you add, the more that the regular year gets devalued. This is a way to kind of punch back at that. Because it shows like, hey, if you're a top 4 seed, if you're a top 4 ranked team, you are going to get rewarded for what you did in the regular season. And in college football, we all know the SEC is a lot better than the ACC. Hell, Boise State was a G5 team. And that's Mountain West. They ended up getting a 3 seed. Do they deserve a 3 seed? No, absolutely not. They weren't a top 3 team in college football last year. Arizona State didn't deserve a 4 seed. They just got gifted because, we got to throw a bone to these lesser conferences. Now, it's clear that the balance of power is tipped in college football, and there's a clear tier 1 with the SEC and the Big Ten, and then it's kind of everybody else below that. This is the right move here. Notre Dame, also a big fan of this change because, in the previous format, since conference champions got the top 4 seeds in that first round bye, Notre Dame being independent, they were never going to be able to benefit from that. Now they're able to benefit from this. I don't love that. I wish Notre Dame would just join a conference, but that's never going to happen. That's a waste of breath. So for Texas, look, you want to win the SEC. If you win the SEC, more likely than not, you are a 1 or a 2 seed overall. But if you don't win the SEC, you still have a chance to get a first round bye. Texas goes 11-1 like they did last year, and they lose the conference championship game, then I still think there's a very good chance Texas will be ranked 1 through 4, and they will get to take advantage of that extra week off in the college football playoff. Texas obviously won their first round game last year, but you got Cam Williams hurt. You don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with an extra game if you don't have to. So I am a fan of this move. The SEC, again, it's loaded every single year, and the second best team in the SEC more often than not is going to be better than the first best team in the Big 12, the ACC, the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, whatever other conference is out there. So you should be ranking teams just based on what they actually accomplished in the regular season, not just, oh, you're in a different league. We're going to hook you up with a first round bye. So I'm a fan of this change. We'll obviously see what the next big change is for the CFP. Again, it's pretty funny. 14 playoff in 2023, big change to 12 in 2024. Now we've got this change for 2025. We'll see what happens next, but it feels like we've got more on the horizon in the CFP. Comment below with your thoughts. Are you a fan of the move, or do you wish that they stayed with the automatic first round buys for conference champions? Let me know below. All right, we will shift gears here. I've been trying to put this off. Been trying to stall as long as I could, but we've got to talk about the rough day for the Diamond Sports yesterday. Texas baseball, a heartbreaking loss to Tennessee in their SEC tournament opener. And Texas softball, one loss away from their season coming to an end. We will recap both of those games from yesterday, talk about the near futures for Texas baseball and softball coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. Back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Texas baseball dropped a heartbreaker to the fake UT in the quarterfinal round of the SEC baseball tournament in Hoover, Alabama yesterday. 7-5 the final score in 12 innings. Some good for Texas, but the bad is they left with the loss, and they blew a 4-0 lead in this game. The good for Texas, Ethan Walker. Now, we talked about it. We did a little game preview on yesterday's show, and I told y'all I wasn't very confident in the Longhorns' chances to beat Tennessee. The Vols were throwing SEC Pitcher of the Year, Liam Doyle, and Texas was throwing a guy who had 0 starts this season in Ethan Walker. I mean, Walker had only pitched 6 2/3 innings in the regular season, and all of a sudden, he's going up against a Tennessee offense that scored 15 runs 2 days ago, and he's got to go up against the SEC Pitcher of the Year. On paper, big advantage, Tennessee. Didn't play out that way, though. Ethan Walker was magnificent. He had a no-hitter through 4, gave up just 1 hit in 4 1/3, was tagged with 2 runs, one of them earned, but that was after he got pulled, number 1, and if Jalen Flores makes a play on a routine ground ball to short, then Ethan Walker has 0 runs on his ledger, and I honestly think Texas wins that game. You never know what the alternate universe looks like if Jaden Flores is able to turn 2 on that double play in the top of the 5th. Instead, he doesn't. The Vols keep the inning alive. The next batter hits a 2-run single. It's 4-2. And that kind of opened the doors for Tennessee, and that kind of gave them hope that they could get back into that game, and they ended up tying it at 4 in the next inning. Ethan Walker, great sign. I think he's Texas's number 3 starter. I don't want to overreact too much to just one start. That's all we have to work with. And to do what he did against a really good Tennessee team that obviously won it all last year, and they were number 1 in the country for a decent stretch of this season. Like, for him to look that good in a start gives me confidence that he can be a starter in a regional. Not ahead of Luke Harrison, not ahead of Ruger Riojas, but you're going to need 3 in a regional. Potentially going to need 3 in a super. You're obviously going to need 3 if you make it to Omaha. So Ethan Walker, I would like to see him get an opportunity in the Austin Regional next weekend. He outdueled the SEC Pitcher of the Year. And that's another plus for Texas. They got to Liam Doyle. If you told me that Ethan Walker was going to give you 4 1/3 and Texas was going to knock Doyle out of the game before the 4th inning was over, I would have said, well, that's a win for the Longhorns. Who do we play next? Unfortunately, after Liam Doyle got pulled, the Texas offense went cold. You tip your cap to Brandon Arvidsson out of the Vols bullpen, the one-time Texas commit who flipped to Tennessee once David Pierce got fired, and the ghost of David Pierce caught up to Texas. David Pierce is not dead. He's coaching at Rice. He's very easy to find. He's doing well. But the Texas ghost of David Pierce, if you will, caught up to the Longhorns yesterday. Arvidsson's breaking ball was nasty. He was only throwing 2 pitches. Texas just couldn't hit him. And the offense went ice cold. Arvidsson pitched 5 1/3 and allowed his team to get back in the ball game. 18 strikeouts for Texas. That's the bad. 18 strikeouts. I know it was a 12-inning game, but still, that's a continuation of a bad trend for the Longhorn Bats. They struck out too much against Arkansas, too much against Florida. Even in the series win against OU to wrap up the regular season, too many strikeouts for Texas. They've got to clean that up. Now, whoever they play in the Austin Regional is not going to be as good as Tennessee, but you get to a super, obviously you get to the College World Series, you've got national title aspirations. You're going to be seeing really, really good pitching. You got to put together more competitive at-bats. You got to at least put the ball in play. I mean, Tennessee's defense is not very good. That was a problem for them in the regular year. You didn't test them enough. They did have 2 errors, a couple of bad pickoff throws. You didn't test them enough, I thought, in that game. And unfortunately, it was the Texas defense. The Jalen Flores error was incredibly costly. And the Vols got to Dylan Volantis. Credit Gavin Kylan, the homer in the top of the 10th. And then the 2-run double in the top of the 12th that ended up being the difference for Tennessee. Congrats to them. They are moving on. Not the worst showing. I didn't think Texas had much of a chance in this game. It's fresh. There's nothing worse than an overtime/extra inning loss because you have to spend more time watching your team lose. Like, that's, if you lose, just get it out of the way. It sucks. Move on. When it's extra innings, you got to stick around longer to be disappointed. That's not fun for anybody. Texas put up a good fight, but once, Walker was looking as good as he did, and once Doyle went out of the game, I started to believe that, all right, Texas is in. And I got invested in that game yesterday, so it hurts to lose, but top priority for Texas. I'm not going to change from what I said yesterday. You wanted to get ready for the regional. You wanted to make sure you had your things in place ready to go for the true winner-go-home stuff starting next week. We'll see where Texas ends up in terms of a national seeding. The bracket comes out on Monday. At worst, Texas will be a 3. They'll probably be a 1 or a 2. We'll see what LSU does. I think if LSU beats A&M today, they'll probably be the number 1 seed. But time will tell. Texas in a great spot. They've got bigger fish to fry. They won the important conference championship in the SEC this year. And a dog pile in Omaha would be a hell of a lot cooler than a dog pile in Hoover, Alabama. I'll just go ahead and say that. Real quick on Texas softball. The Longhorns did not look good last night in softball either. They lose game 1 of the best of 3 Super Regional to Clemson at McCombs Field last night. 8 o'clock first pitch, at least that's what it was supposed to be. You had an hour and a half lightning delay. And look, Clemson had to deal with it too, but Texas looked a little tired. I mean, errors, defensive miscues, throwing to the wrong bases, misplaying balls in the outfield. Like it was weird to see some of the mistakes that the Longhorns made. Tegan Kavan tired out a little bit earlier than she normally does. Like at times, Texas looked like a little league team. And Clemson's too good. We talked about them. They had won 10 in a row. Now it's 11 in a row. They won the ACC. They swept through their regional last weekend, and they're the number 11 national seed. That's a damn good team that has been around the top 10 to 15 in the country all season long. You can't give them extra outs. You can't make those types of mistakes and expect to beat them. It was rough for Texas. That game didn't end until midnight. So, Texas baseball, you had to watch more innings to watch your team lose. Texas softball, you had to stay up extra late to watch your teams lose. That's twisting the knife even more. It was ugly for the Horns. The good news, it's the best 2 out of 3. Not a single elimination. So the Horns aren't done yet, but they've got to turn things around. It is truly win or, I guess, stay home for Texas. 8 o'clock tonight. Weather should be fine. 8 o'clock tomorrow night, if you get to that winner-take-all game 3, the Horns need to go on a quick 2-game win streak to keep their Women's College World Series hopes alive. I think Tegan Kavan should pitch again. Hopefully she has a better showing tonight. Yeah, Texas needs to clean things up defensively. They need to hit better with runners in scoring position, too. They had chances last night. They just couldn't capitalize on enough of their rallies. So there's the situation for Texas softball. There's the situation for Texas baseball. Now we're just playing the waiting game for Selection Monday. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, friendly request to please like, please rate 5 stars, please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment below with your thoughts and questions and comments and topics for future episodes. Always love hearing from y'all. Really do appreciate you guys making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On the Portal. My man Brian Smith has you covered with everything going on in the college football transfer portal, the entries, the signings, the rumors. He has it all. So you can be the most informed fan around all your buddies. Find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Hope y'all enjoy the holiday weekend. Shout out to our military out there. Take a moment this weekend to think about those who made the ultimate sacrifice protecting our great freedoms back home. Can't thank y'all enough. Salute to our servicemen and women for their constant bravery. All right, we will be back next week. We will talk Texas baseball. We'll talk Texas softball. Hopefully we're talking about a Women's College World Series team. We'll see where Texas baseball ends up, and we'll have plenty of Longhorn football. Never a dull moment on the 40 acres. We got you covered here on Locked On Longhorns. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.